Well, the current climate that I think we face in the world of work is a climate of uncertainty, and uncertainty creates anxiety. We've seen downsizing, we've seen people afraid of losing their jobs. When people become anxious, I think their focus narrows, they lose sight of things which are essential, and the pressure on business is they've got to do a lot more with less. So the challenge is creating climates in which people can produce more with a lot less resource. And that is really where emotional intelligence, I think, comes to the fore, because it extracts from people the essence of their talent and focuses their talent in renewed ways to enable them to step up to the new challenges and become more productive. And in fact, a large telecommunications company that we've worked with over the last 3 years in Asia Pacific, their challenge as they downsized was to reach out to a bigger market and a very competitive market where there was fierce competition, and they needed even the most technically competent people in the business to begin to share information more widely, to engage a broader range of customers externally, but also internally, where staff morale was starting to be an issue. So they needed to retain the brightest and the best talent. And as Howard Shultz said from Starbucks, there's employee engagement, there's employee engagement, and there's employee engagement. And we know that if you're going to really engage employees and enable them to step up to the opportunities, then it's engaging them at the deep core of what drives their behavior. It's the emotional skills that leaders have got to engage with today. So to pilot emotional skills inside this telecommunications company, 4 out of the 7 business units adopted an emotional intelligence program to develop leadership skills to really engage customers internally, build staff morale, make sure people were inspired to produce their very best work. Turned out that in the history of this telecommunications company, those 4 business units achieved the highest leadership and customer engagement scores in the history of the business. It's any wonder why ExxonMobil and companies like Singtel, companies like Ernst & Young, companies like Quicksilver are investing in the development of emotional skills, realizing that that's how you produce dynamic leadership cultures that engage customers internally and externally all around the business. These are the people that are coming to London March the 9th to examine the questions of where we've been, where we are right now, but more importantly, where we're going in the future when it comes to building emotional intelligence to drive effective leadership cultures inside global companies.
Good.